Have you ever felt stuck on a treadmill? Not a gym treadmill, but an existential one. The one where you run, you strive, you sweat to reach the next level, the next achievement, the next object of desire. And when you finally get there, breathless and exhausted, you realize the finish line has simply moved further away. The feeling of satisfaction is fleeting, almost a vapor that dissipates into the air, and soon you're running again in search of something more. This is the great illusion of our era. We've been taught, since we were young, from all sides, by advertising, by culture, by the digital storefronts of social media, that happiness is an act of addition. That it's built by adding things. More money in the bank, a newer car, a bigger house, more clothes in the closet, more followers, more exotic experiences to post about. The equation seems simple: having more equals being happier. But what if this equation is fundamentally wrong? What if the true mathematics of happiness is, in fact, an operation of subtraction? Imagine, for a moment, the peace that would come from not wanting anything more than what you already have. The freedom of looking around you and feeling a deep, serene gratitude, instead of a constant anxiety for what's missing. This might sound like a radical concept, almost a sacrilege in a world that screams, by accumulate desire. But this idea is not new. It is the essence of ancient wisdom, from the Stoicism of Seneca and Epictetus to Buddhist detachment. It's the wisdom that tells us, happiness is having little and wanting less. In our journey today, we will dive deep into this philosophy. Not as an apology for misery or a lack of ambition, but as an invitation to a life of intentionality, of focus on what is essential. We will deconstruct the myth of more, explore the Stoic art of mastering our desires, and discover how voluntary simplicity can be the most direct path to lasting joy, inner peace, and a wealth that no money can buy. If you feel like you're running in place, if the relentless pursuit of more is leaving you with less peace, this script is your pause. It's your invitation to step off the treadmill and learn to walk, calmly and purposefully, in the garden of your own life. The architecture of dissatisfaction. Why do we always want more? To understand the beauty of wanting less, we first need to understand why we were programmed to always want more. We aren't born with this insatiable desire. It is built, brick by brick, throughout our lives. It's a complex architecture with deep psychological foundations and constant cultural reinforcements. The first piece of this structure is the hedonic treadmill or hedonic adaptation. It's a fascinating concept from psychology. Basically, human beings have an incredible ability to adapt to new situations, both good and bad. When you get that dream promotion or buy the latest generation smartphone, there's a spike in happiness. It's real, it's palpable. The problem is this spike doesn't last. Your brain quickly adapts to this new reality. That promotion becomes your new baseline salary. That amazing phone becomes just your phone. The novelty wears off, the shine fades, and your happiness level returns to its starting point. And what do? You start looking for the next spike, the next source of excitement. The treadmill keeps spinning and you keep running. I remember perfectly when I bought my first car. I saved money for years, researched models, dreamed of the freedom it would bring me. The day I got the key was a moment of indescribable euphoria. For a few weeks, every trip was an adventure. But over time, driving to work became a routine. The car became a means of transportation with its costs, maintenance, and worries. The euphoria was gone, and my mind subtly began to whisper, what if it were a newer model? A more powerful one. I was, without realizing it, back on the treadmill. The second architect of our dissatisfaction is social comparison. Before the internet, we compared ourselves to our neighbors, co-workers, a restricted circle of people. Today, with social media, we compare ourselves to the entire world. And not the real world, but an edited, filtered, and curated highlight reel of millions of people's lives. We see others' stage, but we compare it to our own backstage. We see the photo of the paradise vacation, but not the stress of planning or the credit card debt. We see the perfect body, but not the hours of exhausting training or the possible insecurities that person also has. This constant comparison is like a poison that erodes our ability to appreciate what we have. Your home may be cozy and perfect for you, but it suddenly seems small and dull when you see a home decor influencer's feed. Your career progress may be solid and honest, but it seems insignificant next to the meteoric success of an entrepreneur you follow. Theodore Roosevelt said, "Comparison is the thief of joy," and never has this phrase been truer. Social media has become an infinite marketplace of desires we didn't know we had, making us unhappy with lives that would otherwise bring us contentment. Finally, we have the advertising industry, the great conductor of this orchestra of dissatisfaction. Its job is not to make us happy with what we have. It's to create a hole, a sense of lack, and then offer its product as the perfect solution to fill it. Advertising sells us the idea that we're not buying a product but a feeling: happiness, status, belonging, beauty, youth. It tells us that our current life is incomplete, inadequate, and that fulfillment is just one purchase away. It's a brilliant, vicious cycle. Create the problem, your skin isn't perfect, and sell the solution, this miracle cream. Create the anxiety, your car isn't impressive, and sell the relief, this new luxury model. Understanding this architecture is not about feeling like victims or blaming the system. It's about empowering ourselves. When you understand how the game works, you can choose not to play. When you recognize the hedonic treadmill, the trap of comparison, and the manipulation of advertising, you gain the clarity needed to take the first step toward a different philosophy. A philosophy where contentment is not found in addition, but in the conscious subtraction of desires. The Stoic wisdom of desire, the inner fortress. This is where ancient wisdom, especially Stoicism, becomes a guiding light. The Stoics, philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, were masters of the art of living well in a chaotic and unpredictable world. And one of their most powerful lessons is about the nature of desire. For a Stoic, the source of all our emotional suffering, anxiety, anger, frustration, envy, lies not in external events, but in our judgments and desires about those events. Epictetus summarized this brilliantly: men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. Central to this idea is the dichotomy of control. The Stoics teach us to divide everything in life into two categories: what we can control and what we cannot. What can we control? The weather, the economy, the opinions of others, the past, the future, illness, death. Trying to control these things is a surefire recipe for frustration and suffering. What can we control? Our thoughts, our judgments, our reactions, our choices, our virtues, and crucially, our desires. Happiness, for a Stoic, is not having everything you want. It's wanting only what you already have or what is within your control to obtain, like wisdom and virtue. Think about the depth of this. If you fervently desire a new car you can't afford, you create suffering. If you desire that the person you love never leaves you, you live in fear because their behavior is not under your control. But if you train your mind to desire to be a more patient, more courageous, more just person, you have found a source of satisfaction that no one can take from you. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome at the time, wrote extensively about wealth. For him, true wealth was not in his coffers but in his mind. He said, "It is not the man who has too little but the man who craves more that is poor." He invites us to reflect. What's the use of having a mansion if you live anxiously wanting a palace? What's the use of having a feast if you covet your neighbor's plate? Poverty, in this sense, is not a material state but a state of mind, a fever of wanting. The Stoic solution to this fever is practice. One of the most powerful techniques is premeditatio malorum, or negative visualization. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Thinking about the worst to feel better? But it works. The practice consists of periodically imagining losing the things you value most. Imagine you lost your job. Imagine your house burned down. Imagine your loved ones are no longer around. The goal is not to be morbid but twofold. First, you mentally prepare yourself for adversity. If the worst happens, it won't be such a great shock. You've already rehearsed this possibility. But the more common and immediate effect is an overwhelming wave of gratitude. By imagining life without your partner, you return to reality and embrace them with a renewed tenderness. By imagining life without your roof, you look at the walls of your home, however simple, with deep appreciation. Negative visualization cures the disease of hedonic adaptation. It forces us to see the extraordinary value in what has become ordinary. It teaches us to want exactly what we already have. This is the inner fortress that Stoicism offers us. Instead of building walls of material possessions to protect us from the world, walls that are fragile and can crumble at any moment, we build a citadel within our own mind. A citadel whose gate is guarded by our ability to control our desires. Inside, we find a peace that does not depend on circumstances. Minimalism as a tool, the freedom of having little. If Stoicism teaches us the art of wanting less, modern minimalism offers us the practical tools to live with less. It's important to make a distinction here. Minimalism is not about deprivation. It's not about owning an exact number of items, sleeping on the floor, or wearing the same t-shirt every day, unless that's your choice. Minimalism, at its core, is about intentionality. It is the practice of questioning every possession, every commitment, everything that occupies our physical and mental space and asking, does this add value to my life? Does this help me live in accordance with my purpose? If the answer is no, you give yourself permission to let it go. Think of all the weight we carry that isn't ours. The weight of objects we keep out of guilt. It was an expensive gift, out of obligation, I might need this someday, or out of nostalgia for a version of ourselves that no longer exists. These objects are not just physical clutter, they are mental clutter. They take up space in our closets and in our minds. Every object requires a bit of our attention. It needs to be cleaned, organized, maintained, repaired, and deep down it worries us. When I started applying minimalist principles in my own life, the effect was liberating. I started with the wardrobe, a classic. I donated bags of clothes I hadn't worn in years. Clothes that no longer fit, that didn't match my current lifestyle. The immediate result was a more organized closet, where I could see everything I owned. The decision of what to wear in the morning became incredibly simpler and faster. Fewer choices, less decision fatigue. But the most profound effect was something else. By getting rid of the excess, I began to appreciate the pieces that remained much more. They were the clothes I truly loved, that fit me well and made me feel good. I stopped feeling the urge to buy new clothes at every sale because I was already satisfied with what I had. The desire naturally diminished, not through willpower, but as a consequence of a more intentional environment. This freedom extends to all areas of life. Financial freedom. Owning fewer things means spending less money. Fewer impulse buys, less need for a larger space to store everything, lower maintenance costs. The money that was once spent to feed the hedonic treadmill can now be used for things that truly add value. Paying off debt, building an emergency fund, which is one of the greatest sources of peace of mind, investing in your future, or spending on meaningful experiences like a trip, a course, or simply more quality time with those you love. Freedom of time and energy. Every object you own owns a piece of you. Fewer things to clean, organize, and worry about mean more time and energy for your hobbies, your relationships, your personal development, or simply for doing nothing, which is an underrated luxury in our productivity culture. Mental freedom. An organized and uncluttered external environment contributes to a calmer and more focused internal environment. Visual chaos generates mental noise. Visual simplicity generates mental clarity. It's easier to concentrate, be creative, and find peace in a space that isn't constantly screaming for your attention. Having little, in this sense, is not about scarcity. It's about abundance. It's having an abundance of time, of freedom, of peace, and of focus on what, for you, is truly essential. It's the paradoxical discovery that by emptying our homes and our lives of the superfluous, we fill them with meaning. A practical roadmap for a simpler, more intentional life. This all sounds wonderful in theory, but how can we start applying this philosophy in practice, in the midst of our hectic routines? The change doesn't have to be drastic. It can be a gradual process, one step at a time. Here are some practical strategies you can start implementing today. 1. The daily practice of gratitude. Before seeking what's missing, appreciate what already exists. Gratitude is the most powerful antidote to the poison of insatiable desire. Start or end your day by listing 3 to 5 things you are genuinely grateful for. They don't have to be grand things. I'm grateful for the hot coffee this morning. I'm grateful for the conversation I had with a friend. I'm grateful to have a comfortable bed to sleep in. This practice trains your brain to focus on the abundance present in your life, instead of the perceived scarcity. A gratitude journal is a simple but immensely transformative tool. 2. Desire detox. Digital detox. Our desires are constantly manufactured by external stimuli. Take control of these stimuli. Audit your social media. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate, envious, or that constantly try to sell you something. Unsubscribe from marketing emails from stores. Swap the time you spend scrolling through infinite feeds for activities that nourish your soul. Reading a book, listening to an inspiring podcast, walking in nature. Create intentional barriers between you and the sources of manufactured dissatisfaction. 3. The 30-day rule. Saw something that sparked an impulsive desire to buy? Don't buy it. Write down the item and the date. Wait 30 days. At the end of that period, ask yourself if you still want or need that item with the same intensity. Most of the time, you'll find that the desire has simply vanished. It was a passing whim, not a real need. This pause breaks the cycle of instant gratification and teaches you to differentiate a want from a need. 4. The progressive decluttering challenge. Don't try to organize the whole house in one weekend. That's overwhelming. Start small. Choose a single drawer, a shelf, a category of objects, like mugs or books. Pick up each item and use the minimalist question, does this add value to my life? Be honest. The next day, choose another small area. Slow, steady progress is more sustainable and builds momentum to continue. Remember the one in, one out rule. For every new item that enters your home, a similar item must leave. 5. Redefine luxury and success. Our culture defines luxury as expensive goods and success as the accumulation of wealth and status. Challenge this definition. What if true luxury was having Sunday afternoons free to read in the park? What if it was having time to cook a healthy meal without rushing? What if it was having a mind so calm that you can sleep deeply every night? What if true success was having deep, authentic relationships, a job that fills you with purpose, even if it doesn't make you a millionaire, and robust physical and mental health? When you change your metric of success, the entire game changes. You stop running on others' treadmills and start walking your own path. 6. Invest in experiences, not things. Studies consistently show that money spent on experiences, trips, courses, concerts, dinners with friends, brings us more lasting happiness than money spent on material goods. Things wear out and become obsolete. Experiences become part of who we are. They turn into memories, into stories we tell, into bonds we strengthen. The next time you have some extra money, instead of thinking, what can I buy? Ask yourself, what memory can I create? The ultimate wealth, peace of mind and authenticity. At the end of this journey, what we discover is that the pursuit of having little and wanting less is not a path of denial but of affirmation. It's the affirmation of our true values over the values imposed by society. It's the affirmation of our inner peace over the chaos of consumerism. It's the affirmation of our freedom over the chains of desire. Living with fewer things leaves us with more of ourselves. When we stop distracting ourselves with the relentless search for the next shiny object, we are forced to look inward. And in that inner space we find what truly matters. We discover our true interests, our passions, our fears, and our strengths. External simplicity paves the way for internal richness. This philosophy makes us more resilient. When our happiness doesn't depend on a certain standard of living, a certain car, or a certain status, we become less vulnerable to life's fluctuations. An economic crisis, a job loss, an unexpected setback. These events remain difficult, but they don't destroy our sense of identity or well-being, because our happiness is anchored in something much more stable. Our mind, our virtues, our relationships. Happiness, then, ceases to be a destination to be reached and becomes the very way of walking. It is found in the silence of the morning, in the appreciation of what we already have, in the depth of a conversation, in the satisfaction of a job well done, in the freedom of not needing anything to feel complete. The treadmill keeps spinning out there. The neon lights keep flashing, promising a happiness that is always for sale, always in the next aisle. But now you know you can choose to get off. You can choose to turn off the noise and listen to your own voice. You can choose the mathematics of subtraction where less is truly more. More peace, more time, more freedom, more meaning. The journey to want less is, paradoxically, the journey to have everything that truly matters. So I ask you, what is the first superfluous thing, be it an object, a desire, or a commitment, that you are willing to let go of to make room for more peace in your life? The decision is yours. The power is in your hands. And freedom is waiting on the other side.